Welcome back to the 604 Garage. Today we are finally going to do something about this big gaping hole in the console here. I'm going to make a shift plate or a bezel of sorts. We are going to find something to use as a shift boot. Machines in metal, I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. This one's for you, and everybody else, stick around and let's see how it turns out. So I was never actually able to find a shift bezel or a shift plate or shift boot that would fit this actual combination. This T-56 is in this car, and it is where it is because, well, I'll give you the backstory on that, but I'm using an automatic console as well, and I found the shifter fits really well in the automatic console, but there's nothing that would bolt right in or that I could purchase. And you know what? I like to fab stuff a little bit. I like to make my own stuff. I like to do things on the low buck, on the cheap. So a little backstory, I put this engine in the car many years ago, probably back in 2005, and there was no kits to swap an LS into a second gen or an 81 Camaro. Hell, people weren't even doing kits to swap LSs into 67, 8, and 9 Camaros or first gen Camaros. So I actually bought a kit to put an LS into a Tri-5 Chevy, which is a 55 to 57 Chevy. Now years later, the engine is mounted, I'm taking the Turbo 350 out and I'm putting in a T-56, so how are things gonna go? So it is where it is. I mean, I didn't have to cut the tunnel or anything like that, but things are a little bit tight and it's putting this shifter right in the middle of this console. So there you go. I couldn't find anything to fit. I did a long time ago. So we're going to see what I can do to make my own deal here on the cheap, right? Because the less money you spend on stuff like this, the more money I can spend on things like tires, fuel, all that fun stuff. Okay, well, I've got this piece of 6061 T6 aluminum plate lying around, and I'm going to use this to make that bezel around the shift boot and around the console there where the shifter comes through and fill that large hole. And what I'll do is I'll take the original automatic console sort of filler piece here that goes around the shifter, because I am using an automatic console, and I'm gonna trace this out on here, sort of like so, and then I'll work in the middle there. I'll start working at where the hole will be cut for the opening of the shifter boot. And I do have a solution for a shifter boot. I bought something off Amazon that I think may work. It was way easier than making it myself, and I think it'll look pretty good. So first we'll trace this out, but because I only have one piece, and I guess I could make a couple of these if I screwed up, but because I only have one piece and I don't know how big that hole should be, I am going to practice on a piece of plywood. So I'm going to use this piece of plywood, trace this out, then I can cut a very large hole in there, and I could probably use some masking tape to kind of fill in or sort of tape off the area that needs to remain, and then I can transfer that measurement and all those dimensions onto my piece of 6061 T6 aluminum. And yeah, that's kind of the plan here. I know it's kind of doing things twice, but I can cut through this wood pretty quick. And so we're gonna use my jigsaw, and I'll get that out here and we'll do some tracing, and this will become my template for my piece of 6061 aluminum plate. Okay, a tracing and a cutting we will go here. So interesting story on jigsaws. This, up until just recently, was my actual jigsaw that I used. It is the old Black & Decker 7515. This is like 70s vintage stuff. I have used this quite a bit, and the biggest concern with this thing is the handle. Yeah, it's really hot. Now I've tried to cut, you know, long runs of plywood with these because I couldn't get in there with a skill saw or a circular saw. And this thing got so incredibly hot I couldn't even hold on to it with my bare hands. So this guy is gonna get retired. It's actually a pretty neat little unit here. It's almost worth restoring. I mean, paint this up, clean it all out. It works like a charm. And I bought this one, of course, another Black & Decker, because if this guy over here can survive, you know, let's see, 70s till now, almost 50 years of service, then hopefully this guy, I mean, I'm sure they don't make these as good as the other one, but it's another Black & Decker. So we're going to use this guy and we're going to do some cutting. Alright, well here's what I ended up with so far on my plywood. I cut a larger hole than I needed to on the back because I didn't know how much space or how much room I needed for the throws of this here shifter, but now that I put this down in, it does fit fairly well. I used the green painter's tape to sort of mask out the limits of all the throws. So we got first, second, you know, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and of course reverse way over there. And this green tape will then tell me this is the minimum spacing I need, or the minimum size I need for my shifter. So that really fits in there quite nice. That aluminum plate is a little thinner than this, and that should recess in there really nicely. I did find something to use as a shift boot. I actually found something really inexpensive, and it will look a lot better than I think what I could make with very limited sewing skills. So let's take a look at that. I do have to measure basically how much of that shift boot that I bought will need to remain and how much I need to cut away, but I'll show you that. All right, and this is what I'm going to use as a shift boot. I picked this up on Amazon. It's like this faux leather material. It's got some blue stitching in it. The hole here in the end is the perfect size to fit around the stick there of the B&M Ripper shifter, and it was 20 bucks, and I think it's going to work fairly well. We're going to probably have to cut it so it's not as tall. It's like 9 inches tall, but way easier than making it myself, and it looks pretty good. So let's measure that up. All right, so here is the plan. We're going to put this here first. I guess we're going to go like this. It'll fit through somewhere like that. And then we've got our bezel or our plate like this, and we got to see how much material we need sticking through. And we're going to end up with something like this. So that doesn't look too bad. So I guess I got to figure out how much material I need. So we're going to see, it's roughly 4 inches, plus I'm going to give it 2 more. I'm going to cut off about 3 inches, so it'll have 6 inches remaining there. So let's see. Okay, I'm pretty happy with everything. So I've transferred all the measurements to the aluminum. Now I'm going to use my jigsaw again and cut this out. Again, I wish I had a bandsaw, but I've got a blade which I hope will work, and I've got a bunch of hand files, so let's go to town. All right, back in the car now. So after a lot of cutting and filing and shaping, we've got that piece of aluminum, and we've cut down the shifter boot to about that 5 or 6 inch length there, and it looks okay. I mean, I think I'll probably paint that black, but it gives us space as well to mount a little switch, and I will use this switch in an upcoming video for a purpose. For those of you with T-56s can maybe guess what that is when you put one in an older car. But yeah, so here's what it looks like. Take the shift ball off here, and we'll lift this guy off. Of course, I still have to figure out how I'm going to attach it to the car, but I've just kind of taped that over on the back. I'll probably use some sort of adhesive to glue that in or bond that on. But yeah, so far, not too bad. Looking okay. Total cost, I mean, aluminum, you'd have to figure that one out. I already had it for many years, but I'm into it for 20 bucks, and it doesn't look too bad. So I don't know whether I paint this black or whether I keep it aluminum and maybe just get some Scotch Brite, some red Scotch Brite, and kind of give that a bit of a grain to it. Yeah, we'll see. So far, not too bad. Okay, well, I got 4 holes now in the corners of this plate, and the reason I'm doing that is to kind of find a way to secure this in the car. So in the console there's a little lip. It's a little lip all the way around. I'd like to clamp onto that lip somehow. So if I take a self-tapper, feed it through that hole there, and then put the other side through this piece of plastic. It's a rather soft piece of plastic. As I tighten this plastic is going to rotate and grab that lip, sort of like such, and then I'll be able to hold that lip from the inside and then run that self-tapper down, and it'll create the clamp. So I'll have one in each corner, and that's the idea for, you know, securing this shifter plate or this bezel or whatever you want to call it into the car so it doesn't actually lift out. So let's go see how that fits in the car. Alright, back in the car now, and here's that lip I'm talking about. This is what I want to grab onto. Now, I guess I could bond this or glue this down somehow, but I don't want to have to take the whole console out to service this area or to get in this area. I mean, there's wiring in here and there's all sorts of reasons why I would want to get in here without taking the whole console out. So let's see if this little contraption will work. I will put the back in first. And the back is in. Now the front, you gotta there we go, there's one little foot, 2 little feet. Now tightening these down, they should clamp. And the other one, the front clamps this way, and the back tightening up and tightening up. And there you go. So that is not coming out of there. Not bad. I think what we'll do is we'll go with that, and you know, once I'm going to paint this black, and the 4 screws in the corner won't actually look too bad showing like that. So here is sort of, or this is the way that I'm going to attach this to that. All right, so I painted it black and let it dry overnight, and this is kind of what it's going to look like here. Just got to bond or glue that shift boot in. So some spray adhesive seemed to work fairly well. So I tried some other materials and it just didn't seem to take, but this stuff seemed to bond it fairly well. So all I got to do now is use some spray adhesive on the back side there, and then that shift boot should be glued or bonded on for good. So I've got the spray adhesive on there, I've got some tape just to hold it down. We're going to let that sit for a while, take the tape off, and then we'll go reinstall it in the car, see how it looks. And there's the finished product installed in the car. I ended up painting this satin black. I thought it looked better, matched the console a little bit better. Didn't stand out as much, and all that gloss black was hard to keep the fingerprints off as I was installing it, so little quick spray. You could paint this any color. I actually thought about painting it with a little bit of a textured black, but I think this looks pretty good. I like the way these 4 screws look. They kind of stand out neatly. And yeah, there is the shifter kind of going around this way from the other side, and all is good. So that will wrap up my shifter plate, shifter bezel, and shift boot install. Everything's looking pretty good. Alright, well that's going to do it for this video. Machines in Metal Buddy, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gives you a little bit of an idea what you could do. And for the rest of you out there, I hope it inspires you to do something as well on your car. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.